Hi there, and welcome to another episode of Math with Mullins. Today we're going to look at bar graphs and histograms. Please make sure you take the time to pause the video to have this written as the title of your notes. Once you're done, play the video and come back to us and we'll get started. The first thing we're going to look at are the different types of graphs. We're talking about the bar graph and histogram today. Go ahead and again take the time to copy this in your notes. This is the first of two vocabulary terms that I'm going to be looking for in your notes today. So go ahead and take the time to pause it. Notice too the differences here versus what you're going to see in just a moment with histograms. The next thing we're going to look at is a histogram. Again, you're going to take the time to write this in your notes by pausing the video. Notice that instead of having just one set of numbers here or just one category, we now have intervals of the same size. So like 0 through 9, 10 through 19, 20 through 29, 30 through 39. Those all go up by 9s, or technically 10 if you count the 0. And that's just going to be the difference between a histogram and a bar graph, is because histograms are technically still a bar graph, but this time they're going to have intervals on the x-axis that increase in the same size. The next thing would be just reading histograms and bar graphs. These are pretty simple, so it's kind of a review. I'm going to do one or two, and then I'm going to get you to pause the video and try some on your own. This first one says, how many users were surveyed? This one is going to be a little bit harder to tell, so what we did is probably just need to estimate. I would say that the first one is going to have 23 in this one. I would say the second would have about 19 in the second interval, 5, maybe 6 here, and then 10, and then the last one I would maybe estimate 2. After you're done adding up all these numbers, it gives you about 60. Again, the histograms that you're going to be looking at are going to be a little bit more clear over here on the y-axis, so you really know what those numbers are. How many of the users surveyed have 150 friends or more? Here's 150, so you just count 150 or more. That would be 10 and 2, which is 12. How many of the users surveyed have between 0 and 49 friends? That would be 23. Again, this one, just another example. What would be the amount of people that have fewer than 100 friends? I think we said this one was 23, and this one was 19. So you're just adding 23 and 19 together. That's about 42 friends, or 42 users that have less than 100 friends. The next part, I'm going to get you to pause and try this one on your own. It's making a histogram. These are your intervals. So these are going to go on the x-axis down at the bottom. The frequencies will be your y-axis, and those will go on the side here, the up and down or the vertical line. Go ahead and take the time to pause the video now and create your histogram. Once you're finished, this is what your histogram should look like. Notice that I have the intervals on the x-axis. The intervals were already given to me, so that was really easy. And then the frequencies, I chose to do intervals of 2, just because I didn't have enough room to go from 0 to 11. When I jumped up by 2s, I just had to make sure that my 11 was more than 10 and the 3 was more than 2. These are just a few questions about this, so once again, go ahead and try to pause the video, answer with your partner, see if you agree, and then come back, play the video to see if you got your answers correct. The first one, which interval contains the most data? That'd be the interval of 150 to 159. How many of the winning speeds are less than 140 miles per hour? It looks like this one is definitely 4. I'd maybe say that this one's probably 1, so we would say about 5. The last one says how many of the winning speeds are at least 160 miles per hour, so that'd be 160 or more. This one looks like it's about 7, and this one I would maybe say about 5, so that'd be around 12. Pretty simple, right? Again, take the time to pause the video, try these real quick, and then come back to us. So for this first one, how many students slept at least 8 hours? That means 8 or more. Looks like we have 8 in this first category, 8 to 11. And then the second category looks like to be about 3, so that'd be 11 students that slept at least 8 hours. How many students slept less than 12 hours? Well, that'd be everything before 12. We have 8 here, and then 2 here, so that's 16 plus 2, gonna give you 18. How'd you do? Again, this one is just kind of telling you which one would be the best data to choose, and we'll talk more about this later on. It says the data displays show how many push-up students in a class completed for a physical fitness test. Which data display can you use to find how many students are in the class? Notice that the histogram tells you the frequency of people over here on the side, whereas the circle graph just tells you percentages. Percentages do not tell you about anything about the number of people in the class, so you definitely want to choose a histogram for number of people to be your correct answer here. For your last thing in your notes, you're going to do a brief activity, which is making a Venn diagram to compare and contrast histograms to bar graphs. So in your notes, you're just going to draw a Venn diagram, histograms on one side, bar graphs on the other. Something they share in common would be going here in the middle, and then things that are different are going on the sides of the Venn diagram, depending if it's a histogram or bar graph. Once you and your partner are done with making your Venn diagram, come see me and show your notes. Make sure that you have at least the definition of histograms, the definition of bar graphs, and the Venn diagram that you just drew, comparing and contrasting the two graphs. Thanks for tuning in.